Welcome, friends and family, to today's last hashtag Team Fall Adventures of the Wellness Homesteader. So today we are going to be making sort of a ham and cheese ball, and we're going to do it spooky time. So I hope you'll stay tuned. All right, y'all, this is not my original idea. So I like to watch Chef John at foodwishes.com. If you've ever watched him, he has like a sing-songy voice. So let's make a horrible hand. Now, in fairness, I'm not going to use this recipe, and his recipe came from allrecipes.com, and I'm not going to make it quite as big. I'm going to be using two 8-ounce packages of cream cheese instead of 1.5 pounds. All right, so the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to trace your hand. And he says, onto a piece of parchment paper. And he says, don't, like, tip your pencil inside a little bit, or else your fingers will look huge. I think my fingernails are going to look huge as it is. Okay, here we go. And then, yeah, there you go. So you have this. Now, normally, y'all, I use a unbleached parchment paper. I gotta make the end of my fingers. But I'm out. So y'all, I have my Azure pickup this week. So I haven't done an Azure haul in a while, so I'll probably tag it into one of the videos. This brand here called If You Care, they make cheesecloth and parchment paper. And if you didn't know, this stuff is heavily bleached and can contain some chemicals that you might not want to eat food off of. So I would normally be using the If You Care brand, but I happen to be If You're Out. So, first thing you want to do is go ahead and turn over your parchment paper. So I'm going to kind of roll it the other way so it will lay flat. But you want to turn it over so that, wow, my knuckles are really big. So that you're not putting your food directly on the lead from your pencil. I was going to use a Sharpie, but you can actually see through it pretty well with a pencil. So let me grab my cream cheese here. So I have two 8-ounce blocks that I've let come to room temperature. It's kind of chilly in here today, so I am really hoping that it's going to be soft enough. And you can put about any spices you would want in here. He used like salt, pepper, garlic, onion powders, parsley, I think. And I decided I'm going to use just a plain old ranch dressing mix because I think those flavors will be well liked. I'm also going to try to do this without a mixer. And I think you can. Yeah, this is going to be fine. So I'm going to go ahead and dump about half of that package in, and then we are going to be scooping it up on our fingers. I'm going to taste it on a cracker because I don't want it to be overpowering, because we are going to be adding some prosciutto. You could also use boiled ham if you're not able to access prosciutto or you don't care for it. I personally love it. So yeah, this is, other than getting on my thumb, this is mixing up just fine. And you could use a spatula too. You don't have to have a dough hook. I just thought the dough hook might be a little sturdier. Yeah, not sure that's going to be spicy enough. So let's give it a quick taste test on a cracker. Should have had the crackers out, huh? He also did a video that was a really neat black sesame cracker that I think would be really good. I don't think that's enough spices, but, well, okay. Okay, for my taste, I'm putting the whole thing in because it just tasted like plain cream cheese to me. This would be great for a Halloween party. It's, you know, more of an appetizer, with charcuterie boards being all the rage. You could have a very unique one for sure. So, now comes the fun part. I am going to do one more taste test here. Those are the most tender crackers. I think that's good, guys. And I hope you'll excuse my sniffling. I'm not sick. I just had a sneezing fit. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our cream cheese and we are going to mold it into our hand shape that we drew. So I definitely want it to be thick enough because we are going to actually put this in the freezer next. And once it's frozen solid, we're going to do a little surgery on our, this is called the horrible hand if I didn't say that. And we're going to wrap it in prosciutto and we're going to present it on a really cute charcuterie board. Now, obviously, I can't eat a whole hand. So I am going to be taking this to my neighbor, and they are having, if you're local, y'all hit me up in the comments and I will give you the 411 on where to go. They are having the Christmas on Main Street, and they do a lot of, well, it's all handcrafted stuff, and it's fabulous, y'all. It is really good. You can't even see what I'm doing, but I'm sure you know how to. Wow, that finger's really fat. It is a horrible hand, right? So it doesn't have to be perfect, right? I think it's kind of easier to, your hands are going to be messy, to kind of roll it out like into a tube shape and then kind of moosh it together. And since this whole thing will be wrapped, I wouldn't worry too much if one of your fingers isn't attached, kind of a thing. So now when Chef John did it, he did like a whole wrist and everything. I mean, it was really big. But he also used an extra ½ pound or 8 ounces, 8-ounce package of cream cheese, and I'm not going to do that. But I do think I'm gonna need a bit of a wrist here. And with it being nice and soft like this, it's really pretty simple to mold it into what you like. But you definitely do want to get your fingers attached. So I got the thumb area for sure, and then at the 4 fingers. So yeah, I think we are going to have a little bit of a wrist, since his fingers must have been fatter than mine. Oh my goodness, the things we get into, right? I just thought this was super cute. And if you are Team Halloween and you missed some of my earlier videos, you might enjoy going back and seeing the skull pizza, the witch's brooms. I think those are the only things that I actually made for Team Halloween. We are going to be doing some really cool fall dishes that might be suitable for Thanksgiving or just, you know, fall gatherings, or just to feed your family. You know, we've got to do that too, right? All right, that does look like a pretty horrible hand. So here's what we have. I am going to smooth this out just a little bit with a butter knife, but I have to wash these horrible hands first. And then I'm going to put it into the freezer. Now, it says at least 30 minutes, but you want it frozen hard. So I will bring you back once we have our hand all frozen. Stay tuned. Okay, y'all, here is our frozen cream cheese hand. And I said 30 minutes. It's actually an hour that you're supposed to leave it. Now what we're going to do, and this could be frozen harder, honestly, we are going to detach all the fingers just with a knife. And we're also going to detach the hand from the wrist. And this is just to make it easier to do your wrapping before we go into a second freeze cycle. So while this is not at all hard, it does take a little bit of time. So I just have some Appleton Farms prosciutto from Aldi. Actually has really good. I like this brand. It's really good with melon if you've never had it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the individual finger and we're going to start wrapping these. So that is why it's supposed to look like a horrible hand, right? Because we want it to look like flesh. I hope I'm not grossing anybody out. This stuff does not bother me. But nurses are gross, you know? We talk about things during meals we probably shouldn't. So I am just covering with one layer. And try to kind of maintain the shape of the fingers. They're going to get a little bit fatter, but so will the hand. So I think it'll be proportionate. Now I am going to leave it on the cookies tray with the parchment paper. And when we do our final assembly, I am going to put it on a charcuterie board, and then we will attach it all together. Now, I'm not sure why, but it says you're supposed to cover all these things kind of individually and then freeze it again. Then we will kind of squish it all together and drape more prosciutto over the fingers and the wrist, etc., to kind of attach it all together. So even if it's not firmly attached, I still think it'll be okay, given that it's going to be resting on a charcuterie board. So I did buy 2 packages, which might have been a little bit excessive, but I'll tell you here in just a moment how much that was in ounces. So I'm just doing a light wrap. And one of the reasons I think the prosciutto looks so nice is because it's variegated in color. So it does more resemble, I hate to keep using the word flesh, but that's the idea of it, right? So yeah. And this is frozen hard enough. At 30 minutes, it just was not. So I'm kind of glad that I did the extra time. And this is only 4-ounce package. So I do think for best results, particularly if you're going to use 3 packages of cream cheese, you are going to want the 8 ounces of prosciutto. All right, so here we have it. It is disjointed, but what we're going to do is we're going to stick it back in the freezer, and it says for another hour. We're going to let it firm up, and then we're going to be draping it again and assembling it on our charcuterie board. So I hope you'll stay tuned. All right, y'all, our second freeze is done. So we've got a nice, firm, horrible hand. And what I'm choosing to put it on, this is a cutting board. And I purchased from Amazon, and I can leave a link, these individual pieces of a waxed paper that I thought would be really neat for individually wrapping cookies or treats, you know, for the Halloween season. There's a lot of pieces to it. And then because they're smaller than the cutting board, I did cover it in some Glad press and seal. So what are we going to do next? Well, first thing I'm going to do, y'all, is I'm going to take a little bit of a bite and I'm going to set it aside so we can do actually a taste test with the prosciutto on it. So here we go. You just want to assemble your hand over here. And our goal is to try to get it to, you know, kind of stick together, which I'm not finding a lot of trouble doing that, but we are going to drape a whole bunch more prosciutto over top. So get your fingers in place. And I would say now is the time, if you don't like the shape of something, to go ahead and, you know, kind of refine that. But it is a horrible hand after all, right? I never professed to be perfect, but I think this thing is so cool. Certainly will be a conversation piece if you are bringing an appetizer. So I am going to stretch that finger out a little bit. Now what we want to do is grab the rest of our prosciutto. And the way that Chef John worked on it was he actually kind of took long pieces like this and went over like the whole hand to try to kind of lock it together, and you can make like tendons. I hope this isn't grossing anyone out. It's really quite delicious to have cream cheese and prosciutto, so if nothing else, it will taste good. So let me grab the next long piece here. And I do want it to try to lay a little bit flat. If you don't want the visible fat, of course you can trim that off as well. I am not so worried about that. Y'all, this is so cute. I'm amusing myself, can you tell? All right. I definitely don't need the full 8 ounces, so I would say if you're purchasing this like from the deli where you're getting like freshly sliced, I would go with 6 ounces. I think 6 ounces. If you're using the 3 packages of cream cheese is going to be a gracious plenty. I'm sorry, 2. If you're using 3 and you have more of an arm on your horrible hand, you might need a little bit more. Okay, so I am going to tear this piece in 2. Kind of stretchy, drapey. I do think the added bunched up tendons adds a degree of realism. Oh, my word. You know, Halloween was not a holiday we celebrated when I was a kid, and I think that's why I like it so much. It just was not a thing in our household. It wasn't a big thing in our household. Now, I am going to drape a little bit around the edges here too, just so that all of the prosciutto is going kind of in the same direction. Let's get that fat off of there. Oh yeah. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I just find it amusing. Okay, one more piece should do it, so that would be right about 6 ounces. Definitely. I want to get it well covered and blended. And stretching it out a little bit kind of, I think, helps the look of it a little bit. How about our horrible hand? How cool is that? Now, we're not done, but we're almost done. So, you want to use, you could use ketchup if you don't have hot sauce. I'm going to use hot sauce and try not to cut myself here. This is a new bottle. And this is just all these take, okay, I'll pick that up later, on Frank's Red Hot. Let's give it a good shake here. Find the opening. So what Chef John did was he put this is pretty runny, but he put a little bit of hot sauce in the hand. Well, that's not coming out very well. Okay, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. And then he stuck the knife that you'll be using for the charcuterie board right in the middle. And there you have it, our horrible hand. I hope you've enjoyed today's horrible hand charcuterie board. I would recommend, just because the cream cheese is pretty firm, that you use a denser cracker like these woven crackers. Name brands aren't important to me, but let's give it a taste with the prosciutto. Wow. Guys, now that that ranch mix has had a little bit of a chance to mellow through the cream cheese, big difference in taste. I can really taste it. And holding it up for the thumbnail, the blood ran down. So recommended that you wrap it in like saran or cover it. Refrigerate it for 3 hours before you serve it. I'm going to be sharing this with my neighbors, so I think that they'll enjoy it. The kids will enjoy it if nothing else, but it is quite tasty, actually. Might have to cut off a finger or two. All right, guys. I will see you all on Saturday this week. Not sure yet what we're going to do, but I look forward to seeing you again then. And until then, do me a big favor. Smash that like button. Drop me a comment below. Would you make a horrible hand? I think it's fun. All right, guys. Until I see you again, be healthy, be well, be blessed, and take care.